And I think sometimes that got lost maybe in doing the show because
He was the steady hand at the center of m.a.s.h, Colonel Sherman T. Potter, a role that made Harry Morgan one of the most beloved actors on television. But behind the laughter and the legacy, few fans know the truth. Halfway through the series, Morgan almost walked away. Exhaustion, pressure, and fear of being trapped by one character pushed him to the brink. How close did m.a.s.h come to losing one of its most iconic figures, and what made him stay? By the time Harry Morgan joined m.a.s.h in 1975, he was already a seasoned actor with decades of credits to his name. Born in Detroit in 1915, Morgan built his career in both film and television. Audiences knew him from movies like High Noon and TV shows like Dragnet, where he showcased his ability to embody authority with warmth and humor. When McLean Stevenson, who had played the original commanding officer Henry Blake, left m.a.s.h, the producers faced the daunting task of filling a role fans had grown attached to. Morgan was brought in as Colonel Sherman T. Potter, a career Army man with a no-nonsense attitude but a heart of gold. His portrayal struck an immediate chord with viewers. Unlike Blake, who was portrayed as somewhat bumbling, Potter was wise, compassionate, and steady. Morgan's Potter provided the perfect balance to Alan Alda's Hawkeye and Mike Farrell's BJ, grounding the chaos of war with dignity. His performance earned him an Emmy Award in 1980 and cemented him as an essential part of the m.a.s.h family. But while the audience saw a confident leader and beloved character, the reality behind the scenes was more complicated. For Morgan, the workload was grueling, and the emotional demands of playing a character in a show that mixed comedy with the horrors of war often weighed heavily on him. As the years went on, the pressure of carrying such an important role began to take its toll. m.a.s.h was one of the most ambitious shows on television. Each episode required careful balancing of humor and heartache, often tackling subjects like death, trauma, and the futility of war. For actors, this meant long days on set, revisiting emotionally heavy material while still finding ways to make audiences laugh. Harry Morgan admitted that the intensity of the production wore him down. By the late 1970s, he confided to colleagues that he felt exhausted, sometimes questioning whether he could keep going. Alan Alda later revealed that Morgan occasionally mentioned quitting, feeling overwhelmed by the endless schedule and the responsibility of maintaining the show's high standard. There was also the fear of typecasting. Morgan had built a varied career before m.a.s.h, but as Potter became one of the most recognizable figures on television, he worried he might never escape the shadow of the role. He didn't want to be remembered as only Colonel Potter. Mike Farrell, who played B.J. Honeycutt, recalled that the cast's camaraderie was one of the few things that kept Morgan from walking away. The tight-knit group reminded him of the value of what they were doing, not just entertaining audiences, but telling stories about humanity in the face of war. Still, the thought of leaving was real. The pressure weighed on Morgan, and m.a.s.h was closer than fans realized to losing one of its cornerstones. The breaking point came during the middle years of m.a.s.h, when the demands of the show reached their peak. By this time, m.a.s.h had become a cultural phenomenon, attracting millions of viewers each week and critical acclaim that pushed the bar even higher for every new season. For Harry Morgan, the stakes felt enormous. The scripts often gave Colonel Potter weighty emotional moments, funerals for fallen soldiers, heartfelt advice to younger doctors, and scenes where humor gave way to the grim realities of war. Morgan delivered these moments flawlessly, but off-camera, he admitted the emotional drain was real. Playing Potter required Morgan to dig deep, drawing on his own experiences and empathy to bring authenticity to the character. At the same time, the grueling production schedule left little room for rest. Episodes were filmed in sweltering heat on outdoor sets that mimicked the conditions of a military camp. Morgan, who was in his 60s when he joined the cast, found the physical and emotional strain harder than many realized. He began to talk openly about stepping away. According to his colleagues, Morgan said more than once that he didn't know if he could keep up. It was a moment of reckoning. Should he continue and risk burnout, or leave and preserve his health and sanity? That crossroads would define not only his future, but also the trajectory of the show itself. As word spread among the cast that Harry Morgan was thinking of leaving, his co-stars took notice. Alan Alda, both the star and a driving creative force behind m.a.s.h, understood how vital Morgan was to the ensemble. He and Mike Farrell often reassured Morgan that his presence anchored the show, reminding him that the entire cast leaned on him for stability, just as their characters did on Colonel Potter. The producers, too, recognized what was at stake. Losing Morgan would mean destabilizing the series at a time when continuity was crucial. They encouraged him to stay by highlighting how audiences adored his character, sending him fan letters that praised the warmth and humanity he brought to Potter. But the doubts lingered. Morgan still feared being permanently typecast and questioned whether staying too long in one role would overshadow the rest of his career. The tension between his dedication to the show and his personal misgivings created a period of genuine uncertainty. What tipped the balance was the deep bond Morgan shared with the cast. The camaraderie on set mirrored the surrogate family portrayed on screen, and Morgan realized that leaving might mean walking away from one of the most rewarding experiences of his career. The decision wasn't immediate, but slowly, Morgan leaned toward staying, a choice that would ultimately strengthen both his legacy and m.a.s.h's enduring impact. Harry Morgan's decision to remain with m.a.s.h had profound consequences, both for the series and for his own career. His steady portrayal of Colonel Potter brought a sense of continuity after the loss of earlier characters, helping to stabilize the show during its later years. Fans quickly embraced Potter as a father figure, a leader who could balance humor with gravity. When the show tackled difficult subjects, from battlefield casualties to the moral complexities of war, Morgan's calm, grounded presence gave viewers someone they could trust. His performance was so respected that in 1980 he earned an Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. It was validation not just of his talent, but also of his decision to stay the course. The public reaction reinforced this success. Letters poured in praising the character's wisdom and compassion. Many veterans even wrote to thank Morgan for portraying a military leader with authenticity and humanity. For an actor once worried about typecasting, the response proved that the role was elevating him, not limiting him. Had Morgan left mid-series, m.a.s.h might have struggled to maintain its balance. Instead, his presence gave the show the strength to carry on until its legendary finale in 1983. An episode that remains one of the most watched broadcasts in television history. After the series ended, Morgan continued to work steadily in television, appearing in spin-offs like After m.a.s.h and guest roles across popular shows. Though he lived into his 90s, fans would always remember him most vividly as the wise and fatherly commander of the 4077th. In the end, the moment when Harry Morgan almost quit became part of the story of his resilience. He faced exhaustion, doubt, and fear of typecasting. But by choosing to stay, he cemented his place in television history. His journey reminds us that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that lead to greatness. Thanks for watching. Click here to check another video and make sure to subscribe to our channel.